Hi everybody. I just wanted to take a moment to clarify some of these Lockean liberal ideals because I understand that some of these might be kind of new concepts to you. So, number one, the idea of private property. For John Locke, when he talks about private property, he's not simply talking about your things or your stuff. He's talking about you, he's talking about your skills, your talents, and most importantly, he's talking about your labor. And understanding this is going to be very important when we move on with our discussion about Locke. So just keep that in mind. When Locke talks about private property, he's talking also about your labor. Number two, the idea of limited government. Ultimately, and this is the big argument that Locke is making, is that only governments that have limits placed on them are legitimate. Okay, so for government to be legitimate, there needs to be limits placed on it. So in other words, what I mean is that government can't do whatever it wants to do. There has to be legal limits on what government can do. That's what we mean by limited government. For three, when Locke is talking about equality, as I've listed out here for you, he's talking about two different things. The first is that no one is born to rule over anyone else. So if you recollect from our previous discussion on monarchy, the idea of monarchs and how they acquire legitimacy is through this idea called the divine right, meaning that these folks believe that they have royal, or rather holy blood that is passed from generation to generation. Okay, so Locke is saying that this is incorrect. He's arguing against this idea. He's very much against the idea of monarchy. Okay, so understand that. And then the second part of equality that he's talking about is that we are all born equal. There's a phrase that Locke came up with to describe this. It's tabula rasa, and that phrase is a Latin phrase meaning blank slate. So he's saying that we are all born as blank slates. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to end up the same way. So we're all born equal, but we'll wind up doing different things with our lives. So at the end of the day, we're not all going to have the same amount of stuff. Okay, so this idea of equality is very influential on our idea of equality, and that is we see equality as equality of opportunity more than we see it as equality of outcome. And we really get this from this Lockean ideal. Number four, capitalism. Now, as I state in this book right here, we're going to have a whole class about economic policy. We're going to get deep into what exactly capitalism is. I know it's a term that most of you, I'm sure, have heard, but we're going to get much deeper into what it is later in the semester. Right now, what I want you to understand is, on a very basic level, capitalism is an economic system in which the government takes a minimal role in regulating the economy. Okay, so this idea of limited government, I'm going back to number two here, this idea of limited government is also connected to the idea that government should take a very minimal role when it comes to economic matters as well. Okay, so that's what we mean by capitalism. And then four, the idea of individualism. Well, this is about as American as an idea can get, that we are these individuals who all have control over our own destiny, that if you work hard, you can change your future. Also that individual actions are incredibly powerful, that they can change the world. This idea is a new idea during Locke's day. So these are the 5 Lockean liberal ideals, and these are going to be important for you to keep in mind as we go further in our discussion with Locke. Okay? Talk to you later.